The ballroom of the Beverly Hilton shimmered under crystal chandeliers. Golden light danced across tuxedos, silk dresses, and polished shoes. It was one of those Hollywood charity nights where legends gathered not for fame, not for money, but for stories that would outlive them. Dean Martin stood near the edge of the room, relaxed as always. A glass of sparkling water in his hand, that familiar half-smile on his face. To the world, he was the smooth singer, the charming actor, the man who made everything look easy. But inside, Dean carried something heavier: memories, discipline, and a past no one in this glittering hall could imagine. Energy changed. Muhammad Ali had arrived, the greatest. His laughter cut through the room. His presence bent attention toward him. He shook hands, hugged strangers, teased reporters, and waved like he owned the world. Ali saw Dean, and Ali smiled. Dean raised his glass slightly, and the loudest man in boxing, he replied calmly. They laughed. Ali leaned closer, eyes dancing. You ever fight, Dean? Dean blinked. Fight? No. I sing. Ali chuckled. Ali paused. Then, grinning wide, he said something that would change everything. Man, I bet I could knock you out in 5 seconds. The people nearby gasped, then laughed. But Dean Martin was not just a singer, and that joke had awakened something buried. The past no one knew. Later that night, Dean left the ballroom early. He didn't feel angry. He didn't feel insulted. He felt reminded. Back when he was just Dino Crocetti, a skinny Italian kid with bruised knuckles and hungry eyes. Back when he fought not for applause, but for survival. Dino had grown up in a tough neighborhood. Money was scarce. He did underground boxing matches. Bare knuckle, no gloves, no rules. He wasn't famous, but he was dangerous. He learned how to take a hit. He learned how to stay calm in chaos. He learned how to fight without losing himself. Then music came. Then Hollywood came. Then he buried that version of himself under charm and melody. Until tonight, until Ali laughed. No tuxedo, no spotlight. Just a man in a plain white shirt. He stared at his reflection. 5 seconds, he whispered. He exhaled slowly. Then he picked up the phone. Frank. He said, when the line connected. Yeah. You've still got that old gym key? You serious? Dead serious. An hour later, Dean stood inside a dusty, forgotten boxing gym. The smell of leather and sweat greeted him like an old friend. The ring was still there. The bag was still there. So was the silence. Dean wrapped his hands. Slowly, carefully, he stepped into the ring, not as a star, not as a legend. He began to move, footwork, breathing, balance. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. Punch, slip, block, step. The bag swung. Dean's fist slammed into it. Again, again, again. Sweat poured down his face. His heart pounded. Ali versus Dean. The funniest moment of the night. Dean didn't respond. No interviews, no tweets, no statements. Instead, every morning before sunrise, he trained. Every night after the world slept, he trained. A man who didn't need noise to be strong. You doing this for Ali? Dean shook his head. I'm doing this for me. He stepped down from the ring, picked up his jacket. And as he walked out, he said something that would echo through the next parts of this story. The world only knows the song. It's time they remembered the silence behind it. He did not talk about it. Every morning before the sun rose over Los Angeles, he entered the old gym like a ghost and left before the city woke up. The place was quiet, forgotten by fame. The walls were cracked. The ring ropes were loose. Dean's trainer, an old man named Gus, watched him closely. You're not training like a celebrity, Gus said one morning. You're training like a man with something to prove. Dean kept hitting the bag. I'm training like a man who forgot who he was, he replied. His fists moved with control. Not wild, not angry, focused, patient. Every movement had purpose. The gym door opened. Loud, confident, familiar. Dean turned. Just Ollie and one friend. Ollie looked around the dusty gym and smiled. Man, this place smells like real work. Dean lowered his hands. You lost? Dean asked calmly. Ollie laughed. Nah, I was looking for you. Gus stepped back quietly. True, but I don't hear lies in empty gyms. There was no crowd, no jokes, no stage. You took my joke personal. Dean shook his head. No, I took it honest. Allie raised an eyebrow. Dean continued. You didn't mean to disrespect me, but the world forgot I was more than a smile. Silence sat between them. Ollie stepped closer. So what are you now? Then nodded slowly. Allie smiled again, but softer now. You don't need to fight me. The world already sees me as strong. That hit deeper than any punch. Allie stepped back. Keep training, not for me, for yourself. He turned toward the door, then stopped. One more thing, Allie added. The real fight isn't in the ring. It's in the mirror. Then he left. The door closed. The gym was silent again. Dean stood still for a long moment, not proud. It woke a man who had unfinished business with himself, and this time it wasn't running from it. A few headlines, a few radio jokes, few late-night hosts laughing about the idea of Dean Martin training like a boxer. Dean Martin in a gym. Next, he'll fight Ali for real. Dean didn't respond, but the noise reached him anyway. Every time he walked into a restaurant, people looked twice. Every time he stepped on stage, the applause sounded different. Not on your shoulders, in your mind. Dean nodded. They're watching now, Gus replied. Then give them nothing to steal. Training got harder. Not physically, mentally. Why do I need to prove anything at all? But also, fighters' hands. 2 lives, 1 body. A knock came at the door. It was a producer. Dean, people want a spectacle, the man said. The producer smiled. For the world? Dean shook his head. I'm not here to feed noise, he said. I'm here to protect meaning. The producer left confused. That night, Dean didn't sleep much. He thought about Allie's words. The real fight is in the mirror. The next morning, Dean went to the gym earlier than ever. Gus was already there. You ready? Gus asked. Dean replied, I don't think so, but I'm willing. They trained in silence. No music, no jokes, no distractions. Just breath. Punch, step, control. Dean wasn't training to win a match. He was training to master restraint. Weeks passed. Then something happened. At a charity event, a reporter shouted, Dean, Foley challenged you today. Would you fight him? Cameras came up. Lights flashed. The moment was there. Dean stopped walking. He turned and spoke slowly. I respect Muhammad Ali. He is a champion of sport and spirit. But not every challenge is meant to be answered with fists. Some are meant to be answered with wisdom. The room went quiet. That answer traveled further than any punch ever could. Dean replied, I used to think strength was about proving. Now I know it's about choosing. That night, Dean stood alone in the ring again. Not angry, not proud, just calm. He whispered to himself, I don't need to show the world my power. I need to show myself my discipline. The test had not been about Ali. It had been about ego, and Dean had passed. The thoughtful kind, Dean Martin stood alone on the empty stage after his final show of the week. The seats were dark. The spotlight was off. Only a single work light glowed above him. He had just finished singing his last song, and yet something inside him felt unfinished. He sat on the edge of the stage and let the silence speak. For weeks, the world had tried to pull him into noise. Challenges, jokes, headlines, ego. But Dean had chosen something harder. Control that night. As he walked back to his dressing room, a familiar voice echoed down the hallway. Still working even when nobody's watching, huh? Man, you still got that magic. Dean nodded. And you still got that fire. They walked together, slowly, past framed photos and fading posters. Allie stopped near a window. You never took the bait. Dean replied, I never needed to. Ollie laughed softly. Then his tone changed. You know, people think being the greatest means never backing down. But real greatness is knowing when not to swing. Dean looked at him. That joke I made, Allie continued, it woke something in you. But what you did with it, that's your victory. Dean thought for a moment. I didn't win anything, he said. I just stopped running from myself. Allie nodded. That's the hardest fight there is. Allie finally said, if we had fought, the world would have cheered. But if we didn't, maybe they'll learn something better. Dean smiled. Maybe they already have. Allie reached out his hand. Dean shook it, not as a challenge, but as respect. Allie turned to leave, then paused. Dean stayed where he was. The hallway lights hummed softly. He looked down at his hands. Not just a singer's hands. Not just a fighter's hands. A man's hands. Steady, controlled. Alive. Later that night, Dean returned to the empty gym one last time. He didn't wrap his hands and closed his eyes. He remembered the boy he used to be, the man he became, and the person he chose to be now. He whispered, I don't need to prove my strength. I need to protect my peace. Then he stepped out of the ring, turned off the lights, and walked into the future lighter than he had ever felt. Because the real victory was never about fighting Muhammad Ali. It was about mastering himself.